part 1, we saw how Jarrah White took these two pictures from Apollo 14 and tried to align them with one another and with the astronomical simulation program Celestia. Based entirely on his ability to precisely overlay the corresponding images of the crescent Earth and then project the position of Venus from that, he finds that there is an error. But the outcome of Venus's position in these pictures is sensitively dependent upon the placement of the Earth and any rotation that might be involved. If this concept is a little confusing, let's do a little demonstration. Here are the two pictures enlarged, and in the second one I've made small adjustments to the size, position, and rotation of the Earth to match it up the best I could. Now watch as I alternate from one to the other. It looks like a pretty good match, doesn't it? But now let's do it again, making slightly different adjustments to the size, position, and rotation of the Earth in the second photo. It still looks pretty good. Now let's do it again. This time I will change the position, the rotation, and the size just slightly from what it was before. Once again, it looks like a good match. And let's do it a fourth time. And once more, the match looks very good. I've blocked out Venus in these pictures so that you couldn't see it. Now, let's just take my 4 altered pictures, put them side by side, and see where Venus comes out in each of those. I will now highlight Venus with very carefully placed white dots. Despite the very good positioning and size of the Earth in my 4 alterations, you can see that the position of Venus varies noticeably. But this is quite a magnification, so it's not as much as it appears. In fact, it is well within a reasonable range of observational error. There is another factor which can have an effect on the outcome of observations or experiments like this one, and that is observer bias. Jarrah wanted to find a discrepancy, and when he found one, he was set to go off and make a victory video, not realizing that the discrepancy was because of his own mistake. Sensitive dependence on initial conditions, estimation of margin of error, and observer bias are 3 core principles in science, and Jarrah, in his fervor to disprove a fact, seems to have been unaware of all 3. And in case you're wondering where Venus came out in the first picture that was being matched with these 4, there it is. There is yet another factor which contributes to the discrepancy in the position of Venus in these 2 photographs. I discovered this from Boozyscientist's video on the subject about the time that I was making my video. Changing the direction of the camera can cause slight distortions in the object's relative positions. I didn't know this, and I highly recommend Boozyscientist's excellent video on this particular point.
They are still cited as verification for the authenticity of the moon landings. But most important of all, the writers at the Apollo Lunar Surface Journal claim to have verified Venus's position using the same Celestia software we've just used. Ironically, as we were told on Wikipedia,
the relative positions of the Earth and Venus could not have been anticipated.
Obviously not, because as we've just demonstrated, the set designers screwed up the positions real good. And it seems now they are trying to amend that.
Amend what? They were right. You're the only one who's trying to rewrite history. So, Jarrah White has demonstrated nothing but another blunder from down under. Credit goes to Luke Quixote of San Jose for that expression, which reminds me of your complaints about mispronunciations. Anybody could mispronounce or misspell a word or mistype a unit of measurement or mathematical formula. But the reason you're picked on for it is because you presume to be smarter than all of the experts in the world, and someone that smart wouldn't make mistakes like this one. The word is pronounced Antares or Antares, not
Antes.
Anyone who's even moderately educated in space science should know that. And no, you can't claim that it's an Australian pronunciation. And one final point for hoaxers. Venus, at that time, was much brighter than any star in the sky, and yet in these photographs it can hardly be seen. That would be a pretty good indication of why stars would be invisible. Thanks for watching, and if you ever fall into a hoaxer's rabbit hole, take the words of certain self-appointed gurus with a grain of salt.
You may have noticed that I'm not all there myself. And the morals are great.